for you.
Call to order the Gladstone City Commission regular meeting of April 11th, 2016. Invocation will be by Deacon Mike LeBeau of All Saints Church.
Let us pray in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Bostrick is absent and excused. Commissioner O'Connor.
Here.
Commissioner Phelan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner View.
Excused.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items only. Yep. No public comment? We can move on to we have the Gladstone Brave Bots here with us tonight. They're going to demonstrate the robot that they won with in Escanaba and competed with in Traverse City, and will go on to the state finals this weekend.
Well, thanks for having us for Brave Bot Night here at City Commission. I'm Tim Barron. I teach at Gladstone High School and coach the Brave Bots. It's our 5th year of doing robots all together. First year we did it, as you look at the robot, very intimidating, trying to figure out how to do all of this stuff. Second year we were a bit better, made it states. Our third year, made it to states and states and worlds, and then we made it states and worlds 4th year. And this year, made it states again and worlds. We'll have to wait and see how we do this weekend. I brought a bunch of kids with me. We've got 36-ish kids on the team. We have about 15 to 20 mentors that travel with us and help us with everything from building bots to scheduling travel and that sort of thing. So I got 15 or so kids here tonight. Not all of them are going to talk, but some of them are going to talk about a few things. So first, so all the speakers can kind of work their way on over here. All right, and Mitch, you can go first.
Hi, I'm Mitch Barron, and I'm here to tell you about the robot game. So this year, we had to overcome 5 different obstacles on our side of the field, and our robot had to be designed to pick up and shoot a 10-inch ball. I don't know where it's at right now. Yeah, that yellow ball back there. It had to be able to pick that up and shoot that into either a goal that's right on the ground or a goal that's 6 or 7 feet in the air. And in the previous years, the object of the game changes every year, and in previous years it had been stacking mailing totes or shooting basketballs or shooting frisbees. So the match, during the tournaments there are 12 qualification matches that we play. So we play those, and then based on that that decides how high ranked of a team we are. And then based on that, we go into a tournament style thing where we pick teams that we want to work with for the tournament, and whoever ends up doing best in the tournament ends up winning the whole thing. So the tournament, it's basically like the NFL draft kind of thing. There's a pool of 40 teams, and the first place team picks whoever they want to work with, and it just works its way down the line. And at Escanaba, we were fortunate enough to end up being in first place at the draft selection, I guess, if you want to call it. And we ended up picking Escanaba, and we ended up winning the tournament. And the tournament structure, there's two teams of 3 robots each. So we're working with 2 other teams from, it's usually downstate teams, but there are quite a few teams from the UP this year. We end up working with 2 other robots to try to achieve the game of the year. So that's always one of the bigger problems, is working with the other high school kids to figure out who's doing what during the matches and making sure it gets done. And my dad behind me is basically in charge of making sure everything gets done during the matches, so he's running around yelling at everybody about what to do. So, so yeah, that's.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Brandon Saracen. I am part of the Brave Bots. I am one of the main people for the build, and I am also one of the human players for the drive team. So, the robot season's extremely busy. It starts January 9th when they unveil the game, and it runs until February 18th, where we've put the robot in the plastic bag like you guys saw before. It is extremely busy. We go from start to finish. We know nothing of what the game's going to be, nothing what our robot's going to look like, or anything on what anyone else's robot will be. The first day we actually made a plan, and everyone got together in groups of 4 or 5, and we all went off into separate rooms, came up with an idea on what we thought would be best, and off of that we built what you see here today. So our first tournament was Escanaba, and like Mitch said, we ended up taking first place overall. It was a lot of fun, it was crazy, it was hectic, but in the end we did what we needed to, we kept it together, and we never let the robot break down. Going on to Traverse City then, that was a little more chaotic. The robot didn't perform quite as good as we would have hoped at first. We ended up breaking a few things, made a few mistakes along the way, but ended up finishing up there in 13th place, and we were part of the number 4 alliance. We were paired with 2 teams from downstate, and we went into the quarterfinals of that. Moving on from there, this week we'll be in, well, leaving Wednesday, we'll be down in Grand Rapids for the States tournament at the Deltaplex. And there, rather than seeing 40 teams like we did in Escanaba and Traverse City, there will be 102 of the top 102 teams will be there, and there are 410 in the state total. So it's a bit of an honor to make it there. It shows we've done our best, we've done something right, and if all goes good, we will hopefully be down in St. Louis 2 weeks after States at the Edward Jones Dome. There will be 600 teams competing on 8 fields total. And this is a worldwide thing. We've seen teams from Israel, teams from Mexico, country across the entire country. When they say it's a worldwide thing, it really is a worldwide thing. But as part of the build then, like I said before, it's crazy, it's hectic, and our requirement for the team is we need to get a minimum of 50 hours in to be able to travel, but a few of us have over 200 hours in from the build season alone. And that is it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jill Thompson. I'm the president of the robotics team, and I do whatever Mr. Barron tells me to do. And I'm going to talk about the budget a little bit. Overall, it costs about $45,000 as our total expenses, but it not only takes a lot of money to build the robot because of all the technology, but busing us and getting our food and hotel rooms, that also takes a lot of money. So we fundraise and get sponsors to help us, and our biggest sponsors are EMP, the state of Michigan, Hannahville, Gladstone High School, Lions Club, and Kiwanis. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm Ian Fisher. I'm the lead guy on electrical. The electrical system is a big part of the robot because you need a lot of different things to control the components. We have a main fuse panel that all the power runs through to protect everything. and that distributes power to a pneumatic control module, a voltage regulator, and a PLC, which is a controller for the robot. The pneumatic control module controls all of our pneumatics, which is our air system. Our arms are run by air, and there's a punch on the shooter box to punch the ball into the rollers that's run by air. The voltage regulator changes our 12 volts down to 5 so we can run different components. And the PLC is the controller of the robot. It's programmed to do what we want, and then by pressing buttons we can make the robot do what we need.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kacharny. I help build the robot. I specialize in programming and electrical, among other things. I am also the driver for the robot this year. Many of the things that we have on the robot are items that you would find in a professional setting, such as most of the sensors and items on the robot that give us information to the driver station. Among the sensors we have on there include potentiometers, encoders for the wheels, different sensors that tell us whether there's a ball in the shooter box, different Hall effect sensors that tell us where our linear actuator is, and all that put together into the programming and applied to the robot itself makes it so we can automate many of the functions that we have to do for the game itself. So I would say probably half the battle of the entire robot season is trying to get everything to work as one unit.
Good job. All right, now we'll just do a quick demo as Ryan heads over to his drive station and show you some of the things the robot can do. We just brought, there's like 8 defenses that we can choose from. Yep. We brought 2. I didn't feel like grabbing all 8. There's a lot of pieces. So first of all, the kids are going to put the portcullis in, and we'll show you. This is one of the defenses we have to go through while we're playing the game. So Ryan will pick up a ball and then go through the portcullis. Back up. There you go. All right, so that's the portcullis. So that's one of the things. Well, during the game, this is all timed, remember, so the kids are hurrying to get through because we got to get through that to get over and shoot the ball into the target on the castle. So it's kind of it's pressure. It's like a athletic event. You know, it's a game. They keep score, and then Ryan's going to do what we call. This is actually the Cheval de Frise is the actual name, and he's gonna. We call it the chili fries, and he'll show you how we get over that. It's a little cramped in here, so it might take a little bit. All right, and you'll spin it around. All right, we'll move the portcullis out of the way for a second. And as you saw, that bang that the robot did there, that's the thing that scared me the most about this season, because we have to drive over that. We have to drive over a 4x6. So the robot goes up over the 4x6 and then boom onto the floor. That's going to be very robust so that all those electronic pieces that they were talking about don't get fried. So a lot of robots break down, and so that's one of our main battles. And so now, who's doing the ball catching? All right, TJ. So Ryan on his drive station, they programmed in a crosshairs, and so he's gonna put it right on TJ's hands and shoot it in near about his hands. It worked the one time we tried it, so I'm hoping it works now. All right, throw the ball in there one more time. All right. Oh. Nice job. So on the front of the robot, there's a camera. Ryan drives the whole game by watching into his laptop screen. The camera, that's how it's like a video game, but only that you can't see things nearly as well as a video game. So he drives the whole game, picking up balls, shooting them into targets, going over these obstacles. So it's actually pretty cool. So that's basically what our robot does. The tracks that we have on it, we bought those to go over all the obstacles. And I think that's about it for parts. So I think, but robot is. Do you want to see more drive? Well, no, let's skip that. All right. So robot's about more than robots, and Michael's going to talk about what the other stuff is that we do.
Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I am the head award submitter. And as Mr. Barron said, robot is more than just building this structure here. It's more than mechanical, electrical, design. We have people who are on our fundraising committee. We have accountants. We have all those business people. We have our head safety captain back there to keep us all safe at competition. We have people on our spirit team. We have people who get our hotels and our food and set up our food. We also have people who watch every match, all 80 matches, which is lots to do, but they give us information so we can make smart choices about our game and how we can use our strategies. We have people on our website. We have people on our social media. We also had a girl this year who designed the shirts, as most of us are wearing here. We also have people who are actively trying to do community service because, you guys give to us, and in return, we try to give to you. So we go out in the community and we serve as a part of this robot because it's more than just building this mechanism here. And after that, we have people presenting to these judges at competition about what we did in the community and what we do at robots. And it's just one big mess, but it's a cool mess to look at. Thank you.
All right, and then finally, how robot really works. The kids, we probably couldn't figure out how to do this on our own. So it's a partnership between the kids, myself, I kind of just do the organizing, and mentors. Mentors from all walks of life come in to help us figure out how to do these sort of things. We've got a wide variety. We've got contractors that come in. We've got people from EMP, Verso, guys that work at Airgas, women that work at USDA. So there's a wide variety of people that come in. Kids get to see these people and they can model themselves after them and then learn a whole bunch about how to do something like this. And not just this, accounting things, creating a website. The list goes on and on. We have a flow chart of all the jobs, and it's this big, this long, and it's just full of all these different things. So whatever kids are interested in or like to do, they can find that kind of job on the robot team. I just want to say, one of our mottos is Brave Bots Don't Quit. And the kids, one thing that really impresses the adults that work with us is the stick-to-itiveness of these kids. Friday was a bad day at Traverse City. Breakdown after breakdown. Everything that could go wrong did. But even after that day, the kids stayed there and worked and fixing the parts that were bad on the robot. We were the last team to leave there. And that really impressed me. Saturday, when we got knocked out of Traverse City in the quarterfinals, the kids said, "Hey, can we work on this a little bit longer? We want to perfect this, the lift mechanism." And they just stayed. We worked another 3 hours after we were knocked out. So it's just impressive to me. And all the mentors on my team were like, they will come back and work and work and work, and they see what these kids put in. The mentors are very dedicated also, but the kid energy helps feed them, I believe. It takes community to build a robot. How many teams can say they have a city commissioner, Joe Thompson, helping install our electronics? And we had hundreds of pizzas delivered to us at the build meeting by the city mayor. So it takes community with fundraising and all the help that we get, but it's well worth it. The kids have a great experience. It's fun, a lot of hard work, takes a lot of dedication, but in the end, it is fun. So that's all we have. If you have questions for the kids, feel free to fire them at them.
I got a question. How much does that thing weigh?
104.7 pounds without the battery or the bumpers.
Seemed a lot heavier when it hit the floor.
Yeah. We have a cement floor with a little bit of carpet on it in our practice room. It scares
This was
me.
very gentle
Yeah.
compared to an actual match.
Yeah, the robot can beat up to 120 pounds, but we made it a little bit lighter this year. The part isn't on there right now, but we're making a lift arm to grab onto a bar and pull itself up about that high in the air. We've been working on it and working on it. Hopefully at States we can unveil it and lift ourselves up, because you get points for that.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, thanks, Brave Bots.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Just paint a hand on there, eh?
Continue on.
Plus, I guess you have to build your obstacles because you have to test the.
Yeah, they built all those too.
I guess every year then it changes. The obstacle course changes based on what
Yep.
your configuration is.
Do they have to record how many times they unseal?
Yeah, record every time. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, we'll continue on with the regular meeting. Any conflicts of interest? No conflicts of interest. Consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented here. Regular Gladstone Commission meeting from March 28th. City Commission and DDA joint meeting from March 24th, and payment of bills.
I'll support that.
The consent agenda was, motion was made by Commissioner Phelan and seconded by Commissioner O'Connor. It's, we got to vote on it, right?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is passed. Public hearings. We have no public hearings at this time. Unfinished business, the city cell phone policy.
Yep, let's see. Oops, wait a minute. So in your packet, I had the policy. I apologize. I took 2 weeks of vacation and came back the first week of April and had a very hard time catching up and didn't have time to compile my analysis, but I did email a memo today with a graph attached. Does anybody need a, oh, it was on your placemats tonight. I'd just like to go through that for the public. I did meet with each department head during the month of March as directed by the City Commission. When I met with the departments, I was looking for an answer to a question. What does each department need in place to comply with safety standards while maintaining an effective and efficient form of communication with employees, citizens, and the city itself? Do we need cell phones? Of course not. But we do live in the 21st century. After studying this issue at length and consulting with my staff, I would suggest that we as a city do not go back to relying upon antiquated technology. We used radios when I started here 20 years ago. That's what we used for communicating with departments, staff, stations. VHF radios fulfill an emergency purpose, but they have limited capabilities. One of the items most often brought up when talking to staff about cell phones was how their cell phones were used. We've talked about this a couple times at the workshops that we've had. The cell phone's capability is so vast compared to the VHF radios that we had. And I don't know if it was ever mentioned at one of the workshops, but just for example, one cell phone at the campground has eliminated the cost of a payphone, the cost of a credit card machine, and the cost of all VHF radios. So those are the measures that we've put in place to basically keep up with technology. Same situation at the harbor. One cell phone takes care of the cost of all three of those: credit card machine, the old VHF radios, and a payphone. What cell phones can be used for these days, we don't even know all the technology that cell phones can be used for. For some employees, their cell phone is basically their portable workstation. For the people that work out in the field, they have to have a form of communicating to other coworkers on the same job. Like I said, back to their station, home base, water plant, wastewater, wherever, street department. Communicate with citizens. If there's something goes wrong on a project and we need to get a press release to the public, a water main, just broke, we need to get people to know that as soon as possible. Our cell phone policy was intended to lower associated costs of the city, bring Gladstone up to date with new technology, and help defray, not pay for, employee costs associated with their cell phone that they in turn utilize while working for the city. Employees that do not work in the field, who have a landline at their desk, would be the employees I would consider not eligible for the stipend or city-provided phone. Looking at this information, it's clear that we have already considerable savings in technology compared to where we came from. I could not achieve the 50% savings that was asked of me, but I did price out. This was also mentioned at one of the committee of the whole meetings. What would be the price of portable radios and mobile radios if we went back to that technology? So I had Director Geyer contacted Anderson Communication. The price of a portable radio is $489, and the price of a mobile station is $599. Added installation, antennas for all the mobile radios. You can see the cost per department there. There's nothing listed for public safety. They already have cell phones, VHF radios, and 800 megahertz radios. They need all three of them for the type of work they do. So as you can see, if we just purchase bare minimum for all the other departments for radios, we're looking at an initial cost of over $35,000.
Do we even have a radio license anymore? Because radios have to be licensed too.
Paul maintains his VHF license. He has to until all of the police departments, go to the 800 megahertz completely.
But we have no license for these radios.
No.
The cost, the $35,000 for the radios, is that a one-time cost or is that a yearly cost?
That's a one-time cost just to purchase these radios, these antennas, to get us up and running.
And then what do you pay for the licensing every year?
Anderson didn't provide that to me. I'm not sure if...
I think it's a 5-year license.
It's a 5-year license?
I think so. It's a longer,
Well,
term, but all these radios have to be checked annually because you have to ensure that they stay within compliance.
Yeah, but I'm still saying if we're spending $20,000 a year on cell phones, and you have an initial cost of $35,000, eventually the radios will be cheaper than the cell phones.
But are we looking at the cell phone policy just as a communication tool?
No, my biggest issue with the cell phone policy is I don't believe the taxpayers of Gladstone should be paying for people to use a city-purchased cell phone for personal business. That's my biggest issue with it.
The cell phones are purchased by the employees.
I understand that, but they're going on the city plan.
Right.
How do we justify that they need 600 minutes a month, how many of them minutes are actually used for city work, and how many of them minutes are used for personal work?
That is monitored a couple times a year by looking at the actual usage on the bills.
I've done a little research on this, and I have yet to find a city that provides that many phones for their employees. Not one city I've contacted does that. I've actually had employees say they want to come to work for Gladstone if that's the way it is. I personally, I think it's way too much to spend on cell phones every year. You're looking at about $20,000 a year roughly.
So you're not looking at the cell phone as a mobile workstation for pre-project analysis, therefore eliminating, before a project starts, you have, the crew has to meet and go through a checklist. All that right now is done on paper. We can use cell phones to do that. If nobody's at the water plant.
If you're doing it on paper right now, then why do we have cell phones?
Well, what I'm saying is the technology of the cell phones, there's so many more things that we can implement if we're allowed to keep the cell phones.
Well, I understand that, but I don't think every employee needs a cell phone. I can see certain people, yes, I could see where it's beneficial, but a lot of the cities I've talked to have said that a few individuals will be provided a cell phone. The rest of them will be on a sign-out basis that is paid for by the city. The city owns the phone and it stays in the city's property.
Okay.
If the man is on call or the person is on call, they sign it out at the end of the day and they take it home with them. That to me makes a lot more sense. I just can't justify $20,000 a year on cell phones.
Did you ask the cities that, okay, if the foreman on the project has the cell phone and there's other workers at the project, do they have radios? How do they communicate 8 feet up when they're down in the hole hooking water lines up?
Well, I'm assuming they use radios. But I have yet to find a city that provides. Negaunee, they have 4 cell phones in the whole city of Negaunee, and Negaunee's bigger than we are. I have yet to find a municipality that pays, that has that many cell phones on their city bill. I guess I understand that it's modern technology. I do. Personally, I see this as a benefit or a TIF, if you would, to the employees. It's a perk. I have to have a cell phone for work. I pay for that myself. Everybody I know has a cell phone. It's not that they're that expensive. I can't see paying for a cell phone plan, especially knowing that they use it for personal use. And another thing is if this is supposed to make it easier for the citizens and everybody in Gladstone, how come the citizens aren't aware of these cell phone numbers? Whenever they call Parks and Recreation or any other department, they get the 428 number, they get the landline. And then sometimes wait days before they're responded to. That's my issue with it. I really think we could get by with a lot less cell phones.
Commissioner O'Connor, your thoughts? You had sent me an email regarding communication. We should look at cell phones as far as, communication citywide.
Well, I think cell phones, we're not gonna go to a two-way radio. I just can't see that.
I don't see going to a two-way radio either.
Cell phones are fine. I'd like to see them for more applications. We keep saying it's the 21st century, and if we can use those to do more things, to track things, that would be nice. I think if the phones are paid for by the employee, so that's great. So we're talking about the plan rate. Is there a way to reduce the plan rate? Because that's what's killing us. It's 40. Let's just roll it to $50 a phone per month. Can we? I think can we focus on somehow reducing that?
Okay.
And I don't know if we go to a prepaid type system. How can we do that? I think that's where the savings would come in if we could. In a state plan that we're using is a great plan, but it's, I don't want to say Cadillac plan, but it's an expensive plan.
We can definitely ask our Verizon representative to give us options. How do we reduce this price per month?
Okay, or our Walmart representative, how would, yeah, can we go to Walmart and can they, recommend things? I know they're not cell phone specialists,
Yeah.
but a lot of people I know go there, oh, that would be me. So, I don't know if there's a way that we can reduce that price and maybe come up with kind of a pay-as-you-go. I'm not sure how many minutes we could get for the same amount of money.
So your issue is still cost? Any
it's
comments
cost.
on the plan itself?
In the plan, just, I think if we get prepaid, I think you sign up for prepaid minutes on the phone and then use those up, and then that's how we track it, so people would know, you've got X number of minutes for X amount of time. I don't think anyone's going over their minutes, but I'm not sure, again, if we put all the minutes together, how many we're talking about. I do have an issue about Parks and Rec, though, about their phones. Just because with this new credit card law, that we're responsible, I think if we're handling financial transactions, those phones should probably be city property, not in employees' phones.
They are. There's a city paid for cell phone at the campground and one at the harbor.
Okay, so those are city property,
Yeah.
we pay for those?
It's-
Okay, so it's not,
Yeah.
okay, so we're responsible, we know, we're scanning people's information, we
Right.
get full control, okay?
And then the harbor one goes to the ski hill during the winter.
Okay, fine, I've got that covered, excellent.
Mhm.
Right, so I guess I'm looking to continue this to see if we can just go to a minute type basis. Do you think that would be possible?
I think we definitely need to go a lot less than $20,000. And, I would really like to see how much do these guys, 400 minutes for your equipment operator. Is he using 400 minutes a month? How much of that is for city work and how much of that is personal?
On average, most of the lines only use around 137 minutes.
So then why is 400 is the least you can go through this plan? So if we're using less than half of that, there's gotta be another way to get these phone bills down. You go to a straight talk or something like that.
Can we get a price from like AT&T, Verizon, see what we could negotiate on our own versus the state plan, and see if it's any better?
Sure.
The trouble with figuring that out is you'd have to figure out the data.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to put how much data would you need? Do you need data on each line? Are you
Well-
just talking minutes for people?
Would you think every line would need data? I wouldn't think so. If it's just a form of communication, not everybody's gonna need data.
I don't think most people are using it just as a form of communication. I know in my department, and I'm just speaking for mine, I know Eric reads meters and different things with his. Data would be required you need data just to send a picture. So that's what we do largely in my department is sending schedules, pictures of things back and forth. I need some data.
That's pretty much the way everything's going anyway, is data. They're talking about eliminating talk altogether.
Most plans don't use many minutes anymore. Hardly any do. I would say just by knowing when I hook them up, when I talk to the department head, most of them are doing it because of the data, not because of the minutes. The minutes are a safety issue. The minutes are, when I send somebody out to a home by themselves, they have a tool in their hand that they can get help if they need it.
All right, but, not that I wanna pick on you, but community development. You got your code enforcement official who's working an average of 15 hours a week.
Yep.
He's got a 400-minute plan.
Yep.
He's only working 60 hours a month.
It's the minimum plan that you can get.
That has data with it.
That's the minimum plan you can get on our government plan, period.
Okay, so I guess that's what we're looking at.
That
is-
has data, you're right, that has data.
So can we go to Straight Talk or whatever the name is?
And I have not looked into that stuff, so I can't really answer that.
So the building inspector has a 400-minute plan, but that's only $27.99. He has no data use.
He has no data because he doesn't know how to use it, so I don't pay for it.
So you can't take pictures or nothing?
He can, he carries a separate camera that we pay for, and we have to transfer over the data via the computer, which takes time. I would love for him to go on a data phone, but he doesn't prefer to use it. It would save me time and money if he did. Eric's here too, you can take on his turn.
We have Carbonate on ours, and we can, going through Carbonate, we can go right on our computer at the water plant in the field, which is really good news.
But does every guy do that?
They all have the well box locations and the valve locations all downloaded on their phones, so they can open them. We don't use a whole lot. 400 minutes and they're on a data, don't even come close on any of them on that. But that's just the state plan.
Well, I mean, have we ever looked anywhere else for a different plan, Doug?
AT&T doesn't offer a government plan. Verizon is the only company that does offer a government plan. There's other benefits to the government plan. If there's ever an emergency and they have to dial down network usage, I don't know if I'm using the right terms.
Yeah, they can knock everybody off
They
except
can
for.
knock everybody off, but government plans so that
Would stay active.
the usage is directed where it needs to be so that fire safety and government activities are carried on. So there's a reason they call it a government plan. It has some extra benefits other than just what you're seeing.
It's through the My Deal program. The state did a bidding process with all the providers, and Verizon won that bid. So we purchase it with the state My Deal. Yeah. So like the state has done that research for us, and that's,
But really, the only competition here is Verizon and AT&T.
Right.
The Straight Talk ones and all of those other plans, I've never used them, so I know Eric had a track phone at one time. There's some advantages to that. The paid by minute stuff, I know, from what I understand, you have to reload a card, or you can do that via the computer, I believe.
Yeah, we had 3 of them, and you just buy the triple minute plan, you get a year of service, and so many minutes for the year.
The only thing I do know about those is we have several of our staff have kids who have those, and they tell me that our plan is reasonable compared to what they are paying for other things. But I don't price those. I haven't looked into that. Just taking my word for it.
Okay, I guess I'd like to have it looked into to see if we can get off the state plan and get into something that's more cost effective. Which brings up the issue of, what's the cost for using tablets instead of cell phones? Do we get away from voice altogether and just go data?
Yeah, that's one thing I was wondering too. Why couldn't we put tablets or something in this equipment where these guys are going around and they can still take the pictures and just go strict data?
Does the state offer a plan that, of data only for like tablets? Do you know?
That would be a lot cheaper, I would imagine, than having the phone attached to it too.
Because we looked into it for the commissioners at one time. It seemed like it was reasonable, yeah.
I mean, we could do something like that for the guys in the field, because they could still communicate back and forth with everybody else. They'd have their data. And from what I've heard, it's a lot cheaper than having the phone.
The only thing they wouldn't have that road is the telephone.
Right.
They could still text, they could still do data.
Which would still be open line of communications.
We could consider even,
Skype? You get Skype on those, right?
can you Skype 911?
No, I don't think so.
We could consider, track phones or something to supplement it.
Well, I think if we provided a tablet for them at work, if they really felt the need to have a cell phone, they could buy their own.
as long as like the lead, the foremans or
Right.
the leaders.
I mean, you would have to have somebody on the job site with a phone, I agree, in case of an emergency, but, I mean, the other guys, they still, with the tablet, with the data, they would still be able to communicate back and forth.
Mhm. Renee, how much in the next 2 weeks to, well, the next week? It,
No, you need like a month.
I'll get you.
she's part of this purple team.
Mhm. I know.
So if we can table it till the first meeting in May?
You can table it, and then is it clear what you're looking up?
I guess what I'm looking at is straight talk plans that have data and some minutes, maybe less minutes than what we have now. I would say 200 minutes would be more than enough for most of our plans. Some of the plans are heavy minute laden, you know, our Parks and Rec mostly, they do more communication with the public. But most of us could get by with probably 200 minutes. And then look into the cost of tablets and plans off of those.
And then, maybe check one more time, Verizon, is there any other government plan that's less?
I just did,
Oh.
like 3 days ago.
Okay.
Usually if you tell them you're thinking about leaving, though, they magically come up with some other numbers.
Well, I talked to her about, because I was reducing the special events coordinators minutes, and I asked if there was anything less than that, because we're just holding that line open so people can call, and she said that was the bare minimum.
Just for like 30 days, and then we'll disconnect it altogether. Once we get all of our flyers and everything changed with Amber's, not Amber's information on it.
Okay.
She's actually coming, the Verizon rep is actually coming, next.
19th?
Yeah.
I think so.
So, we can maybe fire some questions on.
Sure.
What's the first meeting of next month?
First meeting of May 9th.
All right, well, I'll move that we'll table this till the May 9th regular commission meeting. Give Renee some time to do some research on this.
I'll support that.
All those in favor of tabling this until May 9th?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Thought I heard all yeses.
The city cell phone policy is tabled to May 9th. Under new business, we have introduction of appropriation ordinance number 598.
Yep, this is per our charter, Chapter 8 of the charter. We have to introduce an ordinance and then set a public hearing. The ordinance basically explains the expenses and categories of the general fund. Section 2 is the 2016 tax levy times the taxable value, gives us an estimated tax revenue, and allows the assessor to continue the tax process, which eventually gets to the treasurer to send out the July tax bills where the city's millage rate is levied. So we're just introducing ordinance number 598, and if we can set a public hearing for April 25th.
We have a motion?
You're not, there's no raise to the tax levy, right? It's just, this is what you estimate you would get off of our current tax.
Correct,
numbers.
yep.
Exactly what's there. Okay, so we've got 1.5 million coming in, and we're spending how much? 2.8? So 1.5 in and 2.5 out?
Is that the total of the 5 numbers above? I don't have a total of that.
Some of that is covered by user fees and other revenues coming in. It's not, you don't list the other revenues coming in. You just list with taxation.
So what other ones are generating revenue? Cemetery and Parks and Recreation?
There's revenue sharing from the state.
Oh, okay.
User fees, building permits, fence permits.
We could have a lot of fences for 1.3 million.
all we're doing right now is setting the
meeting.
a public hearing.
Correct.
I was just curious. The way
Yeah,
it
just,
reads.
just the way you read it, it's, you know, you can see that's, you know.
They don't add up.
They don't,
Not
yeah, they don't add up, they,
Mhm.
not even close.
It comes up every year to do it, but it's, your other revenue is not recorded in this appropriation ordinance. Those are based on your rates that you set and things like that. So you are only required to put in what is by taxation.
All right, I move that we have set a public hearing for the ordinance of number 598 for what date did you want, Darla?
April 25th.
April 25th meeting.
I support the ordinance 598 for a public hearing for April 25th.
So we're going to set public hearing. Commissioner Phelan has made a motion. Commissioner O'Connor has seconded the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries that we should set public hearing for April 25th, 2016 for appropriation ordinance number 598. Set budget workshop.
We've held two single workshops after all the budget workshops that we did. We've already done the water fund and the solid waste fund. What would you like to work on next?
The general fund.
Okay,
I think
any certain area or public safety, parks and recreation, general government? Or
I'd like to
start with Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
I'd like to start with Parks and Rec, yeah.
Okay. And what date would you like to have that?
Next Monday?
Yep, I'm good for next Monday.
Good.
18th?
Okay.
5 to 7 or
That works
6
for me.
to 8 or
No, I'd rather the earlier the better.
5 to 7?
Certified.
Yep.
Okay. We need a motion for that? Any more
I'll make a motion that we set the next budget workshop, Parks and Recreation, for the 18th from 5 to 7 p.m.
I'll support.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Phelan, supported by Commissioner O'Connor.
No,
Oh, I got that
reversed.
backwards.
It doesn't matter. We're
To
saying enough.
have a budget workshop on Parks and Rec from 5 to 7 on the 18th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries that we'll have a budget workshop on the 18th. Water and wastewater treatment chemical bids.
Each year we send out the annual bids for our treatment chemicals for the two plants. And good news is most of the chlorine and the fluoride came back the same price as last year. Bad news is the aluminum sulfate went up 4%. The aluminum sulfate send out 4 bid invitations. These are the 4 companies that have historically delivered to the Upper Peninsula, and only 2 responded. One would have had to buy it from one of the companies, and so recommending the low bid from Chemtrade for aluminum sulfate and the chlorine. The 3 companies that deliver chlorine and fluoride to the UP bid on it, and I'm recommending the low bid of Hawkins for $64 per 100 pounds for the chlorine, and Hawkins for $45 per 100 pounds for the hydrofluosilicic acid.
There's a pretty good spread between Chemtrade and Uselco for alum.
Is that the one you said would have to buy it from somebody else?
No, it depends who has the contract with the mines, because the mines use a lot of it, and who has the other contracts or the other water plants in the UP. If one is busier in an area, it's all about shipping. And so it's the last few years, U.S. Aluminum Company has been way out of whack for some reason. I don't know why. I send them the results every year so they know how bad they're losing, but they still come back with the same bid. So
Any more discussion or questions?
Is this, this is what the rate will be for the entire year? Or do you buy it all?
From, yeah, that'll be for this budget year, April 1st through March 31st of 2017.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Do we need to approve this, or would you? Oh.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the chemical bid as presented.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner O'Connor and supported by Commissioner Phelan to take the low bids on the chemicals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Special event application from Cabela's National Team Championship Professional Walleye Tournament.
Cabela's is coming back to Gladstone, May 19th through the 21st. They filled out the special event application. Other than, May 15th is opening day of walleye season, and our harbor is going to be extremely busy just with that traffic. Cabela's really likes it in this area, and they're not really asking the city for anything specifically. They meet god awful early down at the beach house and have donuts and coffee 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they all take off to go fishing. The chamber's really spearheading all of this, but we'll have a couple staff people down there as well.
Do we do any of the setup down there for all that?
Nope, all of the weigh-in stuff is in Escanaba, so they're just looking for the use of the marina and parking for the teams that choose to launch from Gladstone, and the use of the beach house to serve coffee and donuts.
I support it. I think it's a great event. I think it's, I see a definite revenue increase here for the whole community.
During that time.
I know personally myself, it's always a good thing for what I do. So, the only question is do they always do this the first weekend of walleye season?
It's already pretty busy.
It is. It's crazy, and that's. I've had a lot of people that own motels and whatnot talk to me about it, and they said, "How come they're doing it then?" I said, "Well, we don't have control over that. That's just when Cabela's wants to do it."
Right.
But like they said, they're already booked. Being the opening weekend of walleye season, they're already booked with guys from downstate of Wisconsin coming up for the opener. No, I think it's a great event.
Good.
We have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we allow the Cabela's to use our boat launch at the harbor, May 19th through the 21st.
I fully support that if they share the donuts.
We have a motion by Commissioner Phelan and supported by Commissioner O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Personal protective equipment program.
We have a safety contract with MEUW out of Wisconsin. Mike Martin is the local guy's name. He was at our last meeting when we approved a policy a couple meetings ago. So he's new to Gladstone here. This is our third safety coordinator. And so he reviewed the policies, brought them up to date for standards, and then it goes through we have a safety committee internally within the city here, and it went to the personnel, to the safety committee, and we are looking for approval by the city commission at this time.
Safety committee had no problems with it. Everything was good.
Everything was good.
This covers electrical too? Or do they have their own, or does this cover them?
This is citywide.
Yeah, I think it's citywide. I was reading it.
Chemical, crush, electric. Yeah. Looks like it's got it all.
Yeah, it looked pretty good when I read through it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the personal protective equipment program.
I'll second that we approve the policy as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Phelan, seconded by Commissioner O'Connor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved. Let's see, bloodborne pathogens exposure control plan.
This is another plan, same thing. Mike Martin came in, reviewed it all, brought it up to date. This one as well went through the safety committee, and we are recommending approval. Again, covers citywide. Those lovely OSHA rules we have to follow.
How often do we review this? Do you know,
Every
do we
year.
do it on a yearly basis?
Mhm.
Does it change very often?
We will start reviewing it every year. The original plan was created August 10th of 2011.
Oh.
So it's been
Mhm.
previously on file. The safety committee has taken it up again and looked at it. We've had a couple changes in safety coordinators, so.
A lot of times there's changes though, so you stay compliant with state
Right,
regulations.
right. So kind of his job to point that out with us with the plan, and we'll take it the rest of the way, but, yep.
We had, 6 months last year, we didn't have anybody, so as soon as Mike came, we got
Is there anything we
reviewing
need
policies.
is there anything we need to do to comply with this, or we've got all the equipment in place, everything, just the policy?
This is just the policy. We're compliant with the policy now. I think each department, as we kind of went through the workshops there, identified, like we didn't have a trench box. That's at the top of the list to buy now, so.
Okay, so they've been identified.
Yep.
Okay. I move that we approve the policy for the City of Gladstone bloodborne pathogen exposure control plan.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner O'Connor and supported by Commissioner Phelan to approve the policy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is approved. Coleman Engineering Proposal, GIS.
We've talked about GIS at our budget workshops. We did start a GIS program quite a few years ago, and we're trying to just do everything internally. We started out with a grant, and then each year, every department budgets a little bit to keep us going on creating the layers. Adam found a real good picture for me. The base map of a GIS system is really your key base. If your base information is incorrect, as we look at utility issues or zoning issues or road issues, if your base map is wrong, you're contacting the wrong people. So anytime we go into GIS, we look at the parcels, but then we look at the current database to make sure we have the right names and stuff. So we do need to update some splits and combinations, that kind of stuff. Stuff I call maybe clerical work. Coleman is prepared to do that. But I think more importantly is the AMR review that the City of Gladstone is going to have here. We haven't been notified yet, but I did include in your packet, provided by the assessor, that Delta County is on the state's list for 2016. So sometime in 2016, the state will be here at the City of Gladstone to analyze all of our information. They'll go through, attachment C has everything they look at, questions they ask. Our assessor is here with us tonight if you have any questions for her directly. So knowing of our GIS system and the maps that we need to produce for this AMR review, we won't pass. We know that. So we're trying to be proactive. We feel if we have this contract in place and Coleman is working on the mapping for us, hoping the state will give us an extension. Maybe we'll have it done before the state comes. We just don't know.
How often do they do this, AMR? Every 5 years? How do we do on the last one?
Fail.
We did. What's the consequences to failing?
You can lose your assessor. You have to write a plan to the state.
Do you mind going to so it's recorded? Sorry. I was going to turn it.
It's important.
It is.
Should you fail the AMR, the State Tax Commission will require you to write a plan They will give you a time frame that they will accept for that plan to accomplish everything that they feel you need to accomplish. Then they review as many times as they have to make sure you are on a path to be successful for the completion of the plan that you wrote.
What would you estimate the cost of that would be? If we get tagged with having to write a plan and trying to comply with all this, naturally there's going to be a cost.
That's going to be up to the council. I mean, it's going to be up to you to decide what you're going to do to accomplish what you fail, and what I fail, basically too. You know, if they do spot checks to see if you're in compliance with. Does the record card match what's actually out in the field? Do you have pictures of all four sides of the structure? Do you have supporting evidence for evaluations? Did you follow the state recommendations? Did you follow the state mandates? You know, what percent have you got done versus the percent that you don't have done or are in non-compliance with?
This proposal is for $7,200. Vicki, you had mentioned to me that another unit you're aware of, the state came in and took over a role at $75 an hour.
$75 an hour, $75 a parcel.
We have how many parcels?
About 3,500.
I don't think we're opposed to doing this. I guess I would just, I mean, I would be curious to know, you know, if we failed the last one, why are we waiting till now to do it again?
Well, how long have you been here? 3 years?
I actually was temporarily hired November 7th, 2010, when Lisa had her accident. You put me in as assessor June 1st, I think, officially of 2011. I just this year, doing the 20% review, have gone to every parcel, so I now have a footprint in your system, which you did not have before. I am.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not pointing fingers.
Oh, no, that's fine.
No.
I'm curious as to why.
But in 2011, we failed miserably.
Oh,
Today,
yeah.
we're still going to fail because of our mapping. We're not going to fail for the same reasons as we did in 2011.
If you look at your AMAR, there's so many things that are required. Number one, you did not have a footprint of every parcel that you have in the city. And you can only do so many a year and be effective, and they have to be drawn. You also need your land drawing. You have to, you know, determine neighborhoods. All of this needed to be put in place and implemented, and then being hired to do 20% a year instead of a total reappraisal, which would have cost you much more than what is costing you for your 20% a year, because that has to be done in a 1-year time frame. So that total appraisal, if you'd gone through and had it put in the system, you would have had to have hired more than one person. It would have been impossible to accomplish. It's just.
So you think paying them the $7,000 on this might buy us some time with the AMR?
I think it will buy us some time, and if we're lucky, because, you know, I haven't quit. I'm still tediously putting everything in, and I have come a tremendous long way since they were here the last time. You'll find pictures attached, which we didn't have before, and footprint drawings, and viable information. I've been going through I don't want to say recondensing, but summarizing your descriptions, your land descriptions. Some of the meets and bounds descriptions were so general that you didn't have any idea where they were. Trying to pick them out on a map when it just says all that part of lying east of this, south of that, and oh, don't forget the old railroad grade. It gets to be a little, you know, I'm not from the area, 1. 2, I haven't been able to find the old railroad grade on a map anywhere that I have. It just doesn't list the old railroad grade. But you're going to be much, much closer than you were 5 years ago when they went through. I think I've set up a pretty good rapport. Now, people don't do this every time I come to the door. Some still do, but not all.
I was going to say, you probably been getting everybody on your side.
I would hate to say that we're going to pass when this is good, but this isn't good. And the part of this GIS is that I think is the most viable is the fact that it's your base layer for absolutely every department, for everything that is done as far as locating your meters or locating your water mains or shut-off valves, your road right-of-ways. Everything is based off on the base map that they will help us with. And I'm hoping that I'm smart enough for them to teach me how to maintain it for the next 2 years.
Coleman?
Yeah.
Was this in the budget?
It was not.
So this is an extra cost, okay.
So would we roll a dice and do this today, or wait for the state to come in and?
The state will expect you to have this in your plan somewhere.
What's the time frame for them to complete this?
Mr. Hoagland said he could, if we approved it tonight, was it 60 days?
I think he said 60 days because, lo and behold, you have a good start.
So it's possible that we could have this done before the state ever shows up for this MR.
It's possible. The state will give us, I'm hoping, 7 to 10 days notice.
Okay. Will Adam be involved with this? Since
Yes, he is.
Okay, so he's going. Okay, so you're going to get familiar with it. He is too.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as not being any expense, the $25,000 that we're putting into GIS already this year, where is that going?
The 23,000 is for Adam to work every Friday in the GIS office, and that comes from 5,000 from the water fund, 5,000 from wastewater, 2,500 from local, 2,500 Major Street. Assessor puts in, public safety puts in, DDA 5,000. Cemetery. All of that bills just for him to work in the office every Friday on a whole list of what the water plant needs, what the wastewater plant needs, what the electric department needs. He has spent quite a bit of time on the cemetery, electronically doing all those records. So anything above and beyond that would be more money from somewhere to pay for it.
There we go. There's the trade-off. Now you know what to shoot for. All right. Well, I think we have to. I think we have to do this.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's either do it now or pay and do it later. So, all right. I move that we approve the proposed contract from Coleman Engineering.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner O'Connor and support from Commissioner Phelan to accept or allow City Manager Falcon to accept the proposal from Coleman Engineering. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we're up to discussion with the attorney.
Did you grab an agenda, Terry? Do you know what item we're on?
I'm assuming it's on
The miscalculation?
miscalculation, right. It's kind of a thorny little nugget. Basically, at the last meeting, there was a 2-to-1 vote to go into closed session. And I think the clerk provided me with a copy of the Open Meetings Act, and I advised the commission that they could not go into closed session on a 2-1 vote because it takes into account the entire sitting board, which means you'd have to have 3 of 5. And that was the supposition under which we closed the closed meeting, came back, went open session, and revoted, and this time it was a 3-0 vote. The problem is that the Open Meetings Act has about 11 reasons to go into closed session, and a separate provision of the statute tells you which one must have a 2/3 majority vote, which ones just need a simple majority vote. And I mistakenly thought it was 3-0 was okay. Turns out it isn't. Now, that's all public matter record. As a technical legal matter, even though I'm the city attorney, the attorney-client privilege belongs to the board. In order to make sure the board understood what I was going to present, I sent the board, each board member, an email this morning and a copy of a proposed resolution. And for purposes of going forward, I would appreciate if the board could waive the attorney-client privilege so I can make this presentation, which does include, in addition to the undisputed facts, a recommendation. Ordinarily, we would go into closed session to discuss something like this first and then come back in open session. But one of the quandaries is we only have 3 sitting commissioners. So I can't give you an opinion letter to go in and talk about in closed session. So this has pretty much to be done on the record. So when this was brought to my attention by Darla last week, I said, look, my mistake, I'll take the heat and I'll explain it to everybody. She has approved the letter and the resolution. And basically what the resolution does is, well, let me first digress. Does anybody on the commission have any objection to my going through the letter and terms of the resolution?
I have no objection.
I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. So basically what happened is on March 28th, we went into closed session in technical and inadvertent violation of the Open Meetings Act. The simplest way to fix that is to have a do-over, what I call it, which means you made a mistake, you now go in a proper session, you revote to do it, and you can even go through the process of going back into closed session, because at least one board member wasn't here for that session on March 28th. However, we would need 4 votes to do that, so we cannot do that tonight. So I consulted with Michigan Municipal League about the situation. I talked to their law firm, and basically their recommendation was, look, you made an inadvertent mistake, just fess up and indicate that you're aware you're not going to do it again. Interestingly enough, the reason for the closed session last week was to discuss the situation with the proposed bargaining unit. It was my legal analysis of what the board needed to know to deal with a situation where a union was presenting signature cards indicating they were trying to form a supervisory unit. We are now going to go, if the commission votes to go into closed session to discuss that bargaining, what is now a bargaining situation, then we will go into closed session on the basis of a 3-0 vote, because you only need a 3-0 vote to go into a closed session to discuss bargaining. And we haven't received a demand to bargain from the IBEW. So basically what the resolution does is it basically says how the mistake was made. It says that it was inadvertent, which it certainly was, and that the purpose is to confirm the city's aware and doesn't dispute that an inadvertent violation of OMA occurred based on the miscalculation of the quorum and voting requirements necessary to consider an opinion of council in closed session. So, oddly enough, even though we committed a technical violation doing that, we are now going to go into a closed session on the basis of a 3-0 vote to do exactly the same thing. Except this time now we have a bargaining demand, and this time we will have to, and instead of me just explaining what the law is, we actually got to start dealing with how we want to approach this whole bargaining situation. So the final thing, it was suggested that the city should make sure, I'm not at every board meeting. It's fairly rare that I actually get to a board meeting, so I'm not here a lot. And the municipal league recommended that we formally present all commissioners and the city manager with a copy of MCLA 15267 and MCLA 15268, which set forth the quorum requirements and which sets forth the only permissible reasons why the city can go in a closed session. So the last thing you'll see is a kind of an oddball paragraph that says I'm going to do that if the city approves a resolution, and I will send all city commissioners and Darla a copy of those statutes so that in the future, when I'm not going to be here, you're aware of what the legal requirements are. Because, you know, it's serious to violate OMA. Obviously, had I connected all the dots, I would have not only stopped the first closed meeting, I would have stopped the second closed meeting. But, you know, there's two kinds of lawyers, those that make mistakes and those that lie about never making mistakes. So with that said, you have the draft resolution. If there's any questions about that from the board, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions?
No questions. No, I don't think so.
So you're looking for approval of the resolution?
Yes.
I have a question, Mayor Pro Tem, if I can have for clarification for the record. How is, in my trainings and receiving, so I need to know how to put it in for the minutes. I see you have a prepared resolution now that I didn't see before, but how is, for the simple majority vote, if either party requests it for negotiation strategies, how is that different from now an attorney opinion?
Because there's 11 or 12 separate reasons to go to closed meeting. If you look at 267, which I'm going to give a copy, and I'll give you a copy.
I have a copy.
It says that some of these do require a 2/3 majority vote, but about 8 of them do not.
Correct. Yep, I've had a copy,
Yeah.
and they've had a copy in their with their training as well. The difference is being for negotiation and strategy. It says if either party requests it. So I'm just wondering how this next agenda item is.
Well, I requested it to the city manager who put it on the agenda. That's the bottom line is like any other employer, even a public employer. We've now got a demand to bargain, and we need to know, you know, what the city's general thoughts are on it. We're not going to decide anything. We have no proposals to accept. We have no proposals from the union to accept. It's just a matter of getting together, making sure we can discuss strategy.
Right, because
And
what
that's
questions
that is a 3-0 vote. Now, if the board votes 2-1, we can't go in a closed session.
Because my understanding is of the 2/3 requirement, attorney opinion is a 2/3 requirement, negotiating and strategy if either party, negotiating party, requests it, it would be a majority.
Simple majority, correct.
Correct, but the attorney opinion to give direction for them to proceed, is that a 2/3 vote then?
Yes, that's that, and it's not. And remember, we got 5 messages, so it's either 60% if you get 3 or 80% if you get 4. You know, somewhere in between is an actual 2/3 requirement. But I have talked to the municipal league, and everybody's quite confident that for purposes of a written opinion, it's 4, not 3.
Correct, and that's what I brought to the attention when I got back. But how is the next agenda item that, you know, to go into closed session, is that going to be tabled till you have 2/3, or is that?
No.
I'm confused by
There's
this.
no 2/3 requirement to discuss collective bargaining. It's only a simple majority. If you look at,
And I'm just I just need clarification of if either party requests it.
right, we're a party and we can request it.
Right, but did they have to be present tonight?
No, the city manager has requested, I've requested it. And certainly we can, when we make the resolution, we can say at the request of the city attorney or at the request of the city manager.
So if I'm clear, this resolution is taking care of going into closed session on the next agenda item?
Yes, exactly. That part
No,
of it
it's from the
relates-
last
so-
meeting. It's fixing the error, admitting the error from the last meeting.
And then, yes, and then deciding how we're going to go forward tonight, because there won't be another full board meeting with a 4-person majority until, what, the 25th?
Right, that's what I'm trying to clarify in
These
my
meetings
head.
are being scheduled right now to meet with the union, so I got to be able to talk to the board.
Right, so for clarification for me, for the minutes, this resolution is to correct the mistake for agenda item H. Then we're gonna go to another agenda item for the closed session?
Yes.
Another closed session?
Yes,
And
this is a standalone resolution. They have nothing to do with each other, except they both covered a related subject matter of the the supervisory unit petition.
I guess I'm still a little confused, because under Open Meetings Act, with the attorney opinion, that requires the 2/3 vote. So I'm confused how we're getting to a simple majority.
No, we're not going to discuss our written opinion in council tonight. I don't have to do that. All we're going in is to discuss the collective bargain.
Okay.
So they are two separate things in that. The resolution is primarily directed, is almost exclusively directed at what happened on March 28th. But now, the second item of business, the second closed session, or the only closed session tonight, will be to discuss the supervisory petition that the supervisors have filed, and the status of that, and where we go from here, and
So this resolution, which I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to read it, I just got it right now, so, that covers the correction and going into
no,
executive
no,
session?
no, no. There's gonna have to be a motion made to go into closed session at the request of the city attorney and the city manager to discuss collective bargaining.
So first, we need a, what do we need to accomplish?
We need a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes, correct.
So do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner O'Connor and supported by Commissioner Phelan to accept the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're on to the next item, which is the closed session to discuss collective bargaining with the IBEW regarding proposed supervisory unit. So I guess we need do we have any discussion about going into closed session?
Nope.
So this is under section 8, which item? Is it the,
This is I.
no, but in the Open Meetings Act, to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure, or for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement, if either negotiating party requests a closed hearing.
Right, the latter, because the former was dealt with in the March 28 meeting.
C, so if item C, that requires just a simple majority for strategy and negotiation.
Correct.
So we're going under C?
Yeah, we still have to have, it's a majority of the entire 5-man board, so if we don't get 3 votes here tonight, we can't go into closed session.
Correct, that's what
Yes.
I'm asking. Is it C or was it H? Okay, so you're going under C.
So we need a motion if we want to
I'll
go
move that
into.
we enter into closed session to discuss collective bargaining with the IBEW.
I second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Phelan, seconded by Commissioner O'Connor to go into a closed session. All those in favor?
Nope.
She's got to.
Roll call vote.
Oh,
Yep.
roll.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Commissioner Phelan.
Yes.
Commissioner View is absent. Mayor Bostwick is absent. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Motion carries. I'm learning.
That's it. No, that's fine. So 8:28, I have us going into closed session.